Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer. Today I want to tell you about a rather lovely gift that I was given that's going to be useful for the Bald Explorer next year. As you know, I'm aiming to get a van, and so that in my quest for England I can go further afield from my beloved county of Sussex, where I live, and explore more of this wonderful country. And I'm into heritage, landscape and nature, as you know. And yesterday I was filming with lovely Lee Lawson. We were talking about Punch and Judy and various other things. The video is out there if you want to check it out. She gave me some books, some fascinating books, all wonderful books that she was having a clear out. And one of them was this, the Dunlop Book, published around 1921. Next year will be 2021, 100 years, and it will be amazing to travel the country in my van and use this book, this remarkable book from 100 years ago, as a basis. Now I know I come up with lots of schemes and plans and ideas and things, and so this is going to be one of many of those things that I'm aiming to do. I don't want to just do one thing. But I thought we'd just take some time to have a look at this incredible book. It was right at the beginning of the motoring time, a period when people who had sufficient money could afford to get a car, buy a car and travel on the roads 100 years ago. And people wanted to do that. We'd had the First World War and there was a real sense of exploring this country, and it's something that I think we should do again. So this is a leather-bound second edition copy of the, I don't actually think it is leather, it's leather-like anyway. It might be leather, I'm not sure, it feels like leather, but it's not thick leather, if you know what I mean. It's cardboard and leather, I think. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's a beautiful book. And Dunlop, if I open it up and just show you some of the pages on the inside here, Dunlop is a company that made pneumatic tyres. In fact, they're very much keen to promote that. Mr. Dunlop made motoring possible by producing the pneumatic tyre, it says here. And in this book, Mr. Dunlop aims at making motoring pleasurable and assisting in the extraction of the sweets of travel a wheel by answering the where and why when touring. And it's a lovely book. And on the inside of this book, down the bottom, it says, warning to you when you turn over the pages, it says, by pushing or forcing lightly the page to top or bottom with the flat fingernail, you can cause the edge to lap over slightly. Thus, to be easily handled and turned, avoid moistening a finger and possibly soiling or tearing a leaf. Do not moisten a finger. I will not moisten a finger. I will be very careful with it. So the Dunlop book here is divided into 7 main sections. We've got the guide to the towns and localities in the British Isles. We have roadside sketches, 400 of them, which is very nice. We have the touring maps, and then we have interesting things such as the cathedrals, architectural styles, camp hunting, golf. There's a lot on golf. We'll have a look at all of these in a second, very quickly, because this is only a short video. There's a little quote here from a book by E.V. Lucas, and I think this is rather a poem by E.V. Lucas, who wrote a number of guidebooks at the same sort of time. And I've got a couple of them for now, for Surrey and Sussex. It's fascinating books. The quote says here, and I love this, England, country of my heart's desire, land of the hedgerow and the village spire, land of thatched cottages and murmuring bees, and wayside inns where one may take one's ease, of village greens where cricket may be played, and fat old spaniels sleeping in the shade. your daisied meadows and your grassy hills, your primrose banks, your parks, your tinkling rills, your copses where the purple bluebells grow, your quiet lanes where lovers loiters sow, your cottage gardens with their wallflowers scent, your swallows neath the eaves, your sweet content. And mid the fleecy clouds that over you spread, listen, the skylark singing overhead. Beautiful poem, beautiful poem. The book, it's got these little tabs so that you can access the book a lot more easily. It's right at the beginning. You've got to imagine it's right at the beginning of the whole plethora of books and guides that was going to come out thereafter. So first of all, we have a whole load of interesting and beautifully presented pieces of text which give you little sketches of places to go and visit with tiny bits of information, which now, looking back 100 years later, will be fascinating, because I love to compare and contrast how things have changed in 100 years. So much has changed, and so that would be fantastic. So for example, let's find somewhere just off the cuff. Here we are, Bingley in Yorkshire. It says here, worsted weaving and textile town. In the church is an early Saxon inscribed relic, said to be from a font, and by others the socket of a cross. Antiquaries read the inscription differently. The old market house, stocks and other relics have been removed to the park. Beckfoot Bridge is an ancient pack horse bridge. There's no picture of that, but it tells us that from London, it gives us the directions. A lot of these directions are from London, the major city. 206 miles from London, population 15,801, early closing on Tuesday. And then it tells us what map number we're going to have a look at. So you get all of that about various different places, which I think would be absolutely brilliant to go and, as I say, look them up over time. And it will take a long time to do all of that. So we come to the next tab, and this is the Roadside Sketches. These, and they seem to appear in the text anyway, but they just also seem to be collected together. I'm not quite sure why they've done that, but there we are. Nearly 400 of these roadside sketches have been specially drawn for the Dunlop Book and arranged on the following pages in alphabetical order of the towns in or near which they're to be found. And again, beautiful little sketches of things that were of interest 100 years ago. One wonders how many of those still survive and in what state they are and whether they're being preserved or not. And of course, as a little sketch, you see just that object on its own. For example, here, Bishop Storford near Albury, stools and whipping post. One wonders, is that still there? Wouldn't it be great to go and find out, is that whipping post still there? Can it be found? Or has it long gone and been wiped away? What else have we got here? Bradford-on-Avon, Bridge Chapel. Well, I know that's still there because lovely Julia and I, when we were on our narrowboat a year ago, we stopped off and had a look at it. I wasn't 100% sure what it was until we finally read the description or the inscription on a plaque on the side. So lots of beautiful things there. So let's go to the next tab. And what I love about this, and I remember these maps from when I was a child. When I was a child, my parents had a small table, a coffee table, with a map of the southeast of England on it. And it was one of Bartholomew's maps, and they're very distinctive maps. I love them. Couldn't really follow them today, but they're good as a little reference to look back at what it was like. And so you've got the usual sort of layout that you would have had, the main A roads, the trunk roads, and then the B roads, and that's about it. Not a lot of detail, but if you were touring around back then, there wasn't so many people on the road. But amazing to think how many roads and layouts there were 100 years ago, and how simpler the roads must have been. But again, beautiful. And the thing about it is it just goes, when you see it like this, laid out like this, you realise just how much there is to explore. A lot of people like to go overseas and go on holiday and all of that, but to tour around all these wonderful places that all have got history and charm and interesting things. Now, some of that charm may have gone. We've seen a lot of rather nasty utilitarian buildings come up, and a lot of beautiful buildings have disappeared from 1920 to the modern time. Remember, of course, we've had the Second World War and bombing. We've had the 1960s, where a lot of the councils decided they wanted to improve and took away many of our beautiful buildings that we would now relish and enjoy from the Victorian period. And a lot of those have been cleared, and also some of the buildings that were built in the 60s, some of the horrible buildings, also are now being brought down. So there's so much change has happened in between this time. But it just goes to show how much space and how many interesting places one, you could spend a lifetime doing this. And I hope to carry on doing this exploration as much as I can. And so sometimes you just need that hook. Something like following the Bartholomew's book would be wonderful. They are still available second hand. You can pick them up. I think I saw one for about what was it, £10, something like that, and £40 and what have you. I think I would have to photograph the sections I wanted rather than actually take it with me, because it's already quite delicate. This section here, section 4, is all about the hobbies, sports, golf and general information to be found. And this is, a lot of people were playing golf. So you get some information about a simple guide to English architecture, and we've got some examples of that, the Norman period, the early English period, which as you were travelling around and looking at churches and old buildings, you'd get a good grip on that. The angler and automobile, places where you could go fishing. And of course, I'm sure many people would go up to Scotland to a bit of fly fishing. The car and the camera, that's another one, the car. And so you've got some articles about places to go and that sort of thing. People were interested in photography and taking those early pictures. Thank goodness they did. We've got a record of it. Camp hunting, a monograph on the ancient camps of Britain. So places to go looking at ancient man and where what they call camps, and perhaps Roman camps, but a lot of Neolithic places. And then golf, the ancient game of modern golf. And we have here a catalogue or a gazetteer, I suppose, of the golf courses that you can find in the British Isles in 1920, and there's thousands of them, it seems. So you can look them up. So here's Colchester in Essex, and if we look at that, we see that we have number of holes, 9, Sunday play, oh yes, telephone number 240. If you want to give them a ring, it's Colchester 240. Amazing. So there we go. How wonderful. To go in search of England, my quest for this wonderful nation, and take something like this with me would be just terrific. I hope you've enjoyed this little exploration of this remarkable book, and I look forward to doing some videos based on this next year, or when I've got my van, as soon as, really. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe. Become a patron, support what I do. I can only do this with your support, so I really appreciate that, and I'll continue to make more videos. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Now, where shall I go? Where shall I go? Otterley St. Mary.